This is a quick performance installation video for mounting a Sandon HD compressor to the outside of a GTO or 9802 F-body Camaro LS engine. I'm going to encourage you to get out your instructions so you can follow along. We're going to start off by these two spots here have spot facing. We're going to take our longest bolts and just go ahead and put those all the way through. Flip the bracket over like so. Take your shortest tube. It's going to go there, followed by what we refer to as the dog bone or racetrack, the medium tube, and then over on this side, the longest tube. Then we can take our back plate, put it on there like so, and then we got our two spacers. Now we're ready to attach it to the cylinder head. We're going to start off by installing into the upper cylinder head here, and then attaching the water pump brace to there. We're going to leave this pretty loose while we start this assembly process, and then we'll do a torque. So we'll just get this going like that, and then that's holding up there. Then we take our other short spacer that matches the ones in the back, and that's going to go just right there. 40 millimeter bolt, now that I have the correct bolt. And what we're going to do, you see how this get caught up there just a little bit? Make sure that that gets up off of that lip there. There's plenty of wiggle room in the slot, but you don't want that sitting there at a cant. I don't know if Derek will be able to grab a photo of that, but there's just a little bit of machine part right there, guys. Make sure that this tube is up off of that. Now we're ready to tighten this bracket up. We want to do that before we put the compressor on so we don't have any binding. So what we're going to do, as you can see, that has a little bit of slop in it. We want to push it all the way in. Don't pull up too hard, but take the weight off of it as you tighten it up here. And you can get your spacers nice and lined if you want to. I'm going to do top and bottom and then come over here and do the water pump boss. So we do recommend that you torque these because it's also important that you don't over torque them. 10 millimeter bolt, we're going to have a torque spec of 37 foot-pounds, which is more than you'd think. And like I said, it's important that you do tighten it up enough, but it's also important that you don't over tighten it. Now we're ready to install the compressor. Now we're ready to install the compressor. One of the tricks that I have is I actually go ahead and take my bolts and set them in there. That way I can bring the compressor over here and it just kind of sets on it. And that way I can have the nut ready to put on it and hold it in place. Now one of the things that we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and tighten up the front. And then we're going to insert the bolt from behind and make sure that this hole is perfectly lined up with this hole. So we have squared the bracket to the cylinder head in the first step. Now we want to square the compressor to the brackets. I like starting here at the bottom. Go ahead and put that in there. And 15 millimeter on the back. Just grab a hold of that nut and just get it nice and tightened up. Followed by doing the same thing over here. Okay, and now at this stage we can, if we want to, go ahead and take this here and slide it through there, and what we want is no interference. If this went through here and hit on this plate here, we've got either these plates out of alignment or something like that. Let's loosen everything up and get it. That's going to keep you from squeaks and chirps later on and make this work as good as possible. We're going to take our 3/4 inch tubes here and just slide them in. Like I said, the bolt should go in nice and easy. If it doesn't, then there's an issue that we need to start chasing. Typically, it's no problem. We make this hole slightly oversized so that will not be an issue. Sometimes these can be a little bit tight to here, but they do flex, so you can just kind of go ahead and push it in. You're not going to damage anything. Get these tightened up here. And now we are ready to torque the compressor onto the bracket. 10 millimeter bolts, 37 foot-pounds, all 4 of them. We're going to install the idler mount now. So we're going to take our 12 millimeter bolt, install it from behind, and then our idler machined tube, grooved idler, and 12 millimeter nut. So this has a flange head on it, which gives a nice seating onto this bearing here, whereas if you turn it around and go the other way, the points on this can tear up the bearing a little bit, so we recommend installing it this way. 12 millimeter bolt, 50 foot-pounds of torque. We're ready to install the tensioner now. One of the things I want to draw your attention to is we actually have a tensioner spacer included in the kit. Goes just like that. We don't recommend installing it to begin with. Just go ahead and install just the tensioner in its place. 10 millimeter bolt, 37 foot-pounds. What we've seen is that there's some variation in these plastic pulleys that are here. And so most of the time the belt runs just dead center here, but sometimes we've seen it creep all the way to the front, and we didn't like that so much. So we include the spacer. So if your belt is running slightly to the front, add the spacer. That'll help with not having any chance of the belt wanting to come forward and causing an issue with alignment or noise on the compressor. 37 foot-pounds. Now we're ready for a belt. We're ready to install the belt. For this one, we have our wide mount alt power steering bracket here. You know, for you F-body guys that have the alternator down here and the power steering pump up here, sometimes this is living where the steering box wants to, and this bracket would allow you to take your alternator and your power steering pump and mount it here so that your engine is now balanced. We do a good job of calling out in the installation instructions belt lengths and things like that. So just look to see what size alternator you have, you know, if it's a high output or a standard, or even, you know, this is a dual bolt pattern, can do a Corvette. So there's several different options for what you can do there. And even though we do a great job of calling out the belt lengths in the instructions, when we get done here, I'll show you how to actually look at the tensioner marks to make sure that you have the correct belt on there, because we don't want it to be too long. Usually if it's too short, it won't go on there. We like a pretty tight belt. One of the tricks is to leave the water pump for last, so you can just slide it down there over the bell, like so. Make sure that you're seated properly in your grooves. Ooh, that one's just a little bit over there. That's why it's so important to check. Make sure that you're seated down in all of your grooves so you don't tear up your belt at the very beginning. Now let's take a look at the compressor. I'll show you which grooves that's using, and we'll also take a look at the tensioner marks on the tensioner. You'll notice on the base here there are 3 indication marks and then an indicator here. So as this tensioner comes through its travel, this is fully maxed out, and then this is, you know, the travel there. We want to see it pretty tight because as a belt runs, it stretches just a little bit. It also takes a set down into the groove, so when we install it, we want a pretty tight belt. You don't want it so tight that the tensioner has no flexibility and you're putting undue stress on bearings, but nonetheless, you don't want one that's too loose. That's what causes the noise. I want to call your attention to this pulley here on the compressor. The genuine Sandin that we sell is an 8-groove compressor, and we run in the center 6-groove. This is a 6-groove belt. We run in the center 6 grooves. Now, there are also 7-groove compressors as well. We're going to utilize the back 6 of that, leaving the 7th in the front open. Thank you for watching this Kwik Performance installation video. If you have any issues with your installation or down the road, we do want to help you. So please give us a call or email us and we will reach back out to you or answer the phone. That's how we typically like to operate. And we can get you settled up. So if you're having any issues with belt lengths or anything like that, we have lots of resources on the website, or like I said, just reach out to us. We want to help. Thanks.